Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tesvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will chant verses 61 to 66. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sanghasteshu upajayate Sanghat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho vijayate krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti bhrangshat buddhi nashaha Vinashat pranashyati Pragadvesha viyuktaistu Vishayanindriyaischaran Atma vashyai vidheyatma Prasadamadi Prasade sarva dukkhana Amirasyopajaayate prasannacetaso hyashu buddhit paryavatishthate nasti buddhirayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayata shanti Ashantasya kutah sukham. If we on this, the sound was on this. No, just we have to adjust here. On chala. Hari Om. Am I audible? Last row. The last we studied was the 60th verse. O Kaunteya, Arjuna. When the Lord is addressing to Arjuna, he's addressing to each one of us. The turbulent senses do violently carry away the mind of a wise man, though he is striving to control them. The senses are very, very powerful. Senses by themselves don't move anywhere. Sir, morning, you are talking two contradictory statements. What are the two statements I made? The senses are Very powerful. And the second statement, the senses by themselves do not go anywhere. And what are we saying here? It is the mind that is strong, and it is the mind that drives the senses to its respective sense objects. And you want to control the senses, you need to control the mind. You have no control over your mind. You are a slave to your senses. You are a slave to the world. You'll be dancing to the tunes or the whims and fancies of what the world throws at you. A little bit joy comes, you're jumping with joy. A little bit sorrow comes, you're sinking at sorrow. A little health comes, you're excited. A little health goes, you're dejected. A profit comes, you get carried away. Loss also get carried away. The world has an effect on you because you have no control over your mind or your senses. So it's not easy. So he's saying in the 60th verse, the senses are very powerful. We took 5 examples at the end of the session. Each animal in the Viveka Chudamani, I did mention, each animal has got a weakness for one particular sense organ, and it's instrumental for its own downfall, its own death. Alas, humanity can't claim to control any one sense organ. We have a weakness for all the senses. And in a world where the world is full of sense objects and temptations, where there is a pull from the sense objects to the world, and there's a push from the senses towards them because of your desires, you are torn apart. In order to implement these values of self-control and self-restraint, you need extraordinary wisdom. See, we all are able to live or lead a certain life of discipline here, whether be it food, whether be it yoga or exercise, because you are in a protective environment, isn't it? So the discipline that you are experiencing is vicarious. It's not something which is stemming from within. The real test to your capacity is, what kind of a life would you lead post this workshop? You go back into your homes, into your own lifestyle, into your own comfort zone, where again there is everything accessible, there is no supervision, there is no environment created for you. If at all those desires or temptations which are not there now will all wake up and start doing dancing tandava on your head. When? Tomorrow afternoon onwards, the moment you leave this premises. Swami Ramatirtha says it's like those who are in the Himalayan mountains, and they experience a phenomenon known as a cold-stricken snake. He says those poisonous snakes, because the extreme temperature of -15, -20, these poisonous snakes actually get cold-stricken. Something like an extreme frostbite. You get extreme cold. They become like a toy. So a live snake, a poisonous snake, becomes like a snake toy. And he says you can actually go and hang them around your neck, take photos and all whatnot. But beware, as the sun rises and the temperature starts rising, the snake, which was apparently dead, starts getting back its life, and no sooner it starts hissing and the poison is very much intact in that snake. It's not that the snake is dead. The snake is only in a temporary cold storage. So also remember, my dear friends, the desires and temptations you have, they've gone into a temporary cold storage because you're not creating a conducive environment for them. That's all. The moment you're given an environment, what happens? The desire arises, the mind rushes, the senses no control, you fall a prey to it. And by the time you realize it's too late, oh my God, what have I done? I have spent so much time, money, resources, energy in learning so much. What happened to that wisdom? Where is my knowledge? Where is my understanding? All that dialogue, all that notes are remaining in the books. What happened to my clarity of thought? I'm not able to keep my mind at bay. Gone. It's gone. So the text is saying even the wisest of people have this challenge. So watch out. Watch out. Be very, very careful. It needs just one input to drag you away and then you're swept away. I'll give you a reference in Ramayana to establish this. Again, misunderstood context. You know, in Ramayana, there is Rama hiding behind a tree and killing Vali. You know that story, that episode, that section of Ramayana? It's often very criticized because it was against the law of warfare those days. And for a man of caliber like Lord Rama, you know, is a avatar Purusha, is a God incarnated. And for a man of his stature to break the law of warfare was something unacceptable. So people criticize Rama. But you know, the actual story behind it is Vali symbolizes a man who is sensuous. You know what Vali did, no? Vali kicked out his brother Sugriva and he married his wife and he lived in his kingdom. That was Vali for you. So very sensuous fellow. And Vali had a boon that whomever he faced in a single combat, one-to-one, he would get half his strength. So let's say if Vali had 20 units of strength, Vali is facing X. X has got 30 units of strength. But the moment Vali faces X, he will get 15 units of his strength to him. So what is the strength of Vali? 35 units. Any day he will overpower, he will win anybody. Even the most powerful guy, he will win. Because Vali himself was a great soldier, was a great warrior. It's not that he was a weak guy. A great soldier with half the strength, finished. No chance of winning over Vali. Rama knew that. That's the reason he hid behind a tree and shot him. What does it symbolize? Vali symbolizes sense objects. You cannot control your senses when you are in facing one-to-one with the sense objects. You can't tell a person in a pub, don't drink alcohol. You can't tell a child, place chocolates in front of him and say, don't eat chocolates. To a person who has got a sweet tooth, put sweets in front of him and say, control. Impossible. Half his strength is gone. Watch out. Oh, why are you laughing? I'm telling a serious matter, you're laughing? Oh. So now you know what to do. You're going to hide it away. Keep it away from sight, out of mind. But that doesn't mean the snake is dead. Just a cold storage. Remember, it gets a conducive environment, it wakes up and starts hissing. Watch out, beware. All right, so the 60th verse said, the turbulent senses of even a wise man while striving forcibly carries away. So a wise man also has no chance. So you've got to be extra careful. All right, 61, please. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Having restrained them all, restrain what? What senses? All the senses, not one or two. Huh? Many people, they restrain one or two, they let loose other. But restraining all your senses, he should sit steadfast, intent on me as a supreme. Carry on, a nice ringtone. Not at all. It's a nice music. That's little boring, a little add a little bit to the drama. No problem. It happens. It happens to the best of us. So don't worry. Having restrained them all, he should sit steadfast, intent on me as supreme. His wisdom is steady, whose senses are under perfect control. He is binning it again and again, so that you don't miss it. Now, in the second, this is the second chapter of the Gita, a text which has 18 chapters. It's the first time in the Gita he's introducing the concept of meditation. I must throw caution to the air. Whenever the scriptures talk of meditation, they talk of adequate preparation. If you plunge into meditation without preparation, not only it is detrimental, it is fatal. Though people don't understand, meditation is a very highly spiritual, evolved state. And if one is not ready for it, it can do damage, perhaps irreparable damage. And I'm not joking. And to draw your attention to the verse, the Lord says, only when your senses are controlled, then only you should ever consider to meditate. Is it not spelled it out there? Having restrained, only when your senses are controlled, then you are qualified to meditate. Otherwise, if your mind is running helter-skelter, if you're not able to keep your mind, how is it you're possible to meditate? Is it possible to meditate? What is meditation? It is a single point in concentration. Yesterday, after the session in the morning, I did a brief session for the managers of the resort. It was an hour and a half session I had with them. And in the process of explaining, I told the importance of how important it is to keep your mind on the chosen action. And I asked them at the end of the session, how many of you all have been able to keep your mind? We spoke for an hour. How long has your mind been in this classroom? And they all enjoyed the session. It's not that it was a boring, dragging session. They all enjoyed it. Very interesting transaction we had. And yet, the best answer I got was average 50%. 40-50%, they said, sir, I must be very truthful to you. Only 40% I've been in this classroom. 60% of my mind was wandering somewhere else. So concentration is the capacity to keep your mind to anything you choose to do. But your mind doesn't cooperate, does it? It doesn't cooperate. Now, how do you keep the mind in the present? With your intellect. So if you can't practice concentration, how can you practice meditation, which is a concentrated concentration? I'm barely able to walk, and you are telling me to run a marathon? Are you kidding? Not possible. Let's be realistic. So get your senses under control. Now here, there is an implication where he says, one who has got all his desires under control. When you say the senses, it implies the mind. And when you say the mind, it is the desires, isn't it? The entire play of life revolves around your mind, sir. It's all the play of your mind. And remember the first day I said, or maybe the second day when you asked, Asha asked a question, I explained the subtle difference between the manas and the buddhi. And one of the aspects of the mind, we said, mind houses desires, it generates desires. Can you get to the equation on page 4? The equation says there, human plus desires equals God. I was wanting to see anybody is attentive or not. Human minus desires equals God. God plus desires equals human. So all of us have the divinity within us. We also have these desires. In spirituality, the vasanas or desires is the mala, the dirt that separates you from your own godhood. Now you may say, sir, I'm not interested in godhood. I'm not interested in moksha or liberation. But I'm sure you would be wanting to manage your own mind, isn't it? Manage your desires. At every stage of your life, you can either be rich or poor. Whether you feel yourself rich or poor, it depends on how well you have managed your desires within you, how well you've managed your mind within you. I was always amazed. It amazed me when I first learned this concept. When your desires are well within your income, you're a rich man. When you have learned to contain your asha, your desires within your resources, you're a rich man. But the moment your desires exceed your capacity to fulfill them, you're a poor person. You're constantly striving to enhance your resources, isn't it? But along with your resources, your desires are also increasing. So you're eternally poor. But one who has that capacity, not only managing it, but get rid of its desires, he has attained godhood. And that's what, there's a quote from the Bible. It says, it's there right below that. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. Look at the exaggeration to a point of fault. It is easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. Almost absurd, but it drives home a very candid point. It is easier for a camel to pass through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. What is he saying there? Sorry? Impossible to answer. For whom? But it's no, but he is saying it's easier for a camel to, what's a camel and the eye of a needle? We struggle sometimes to put the thread through it. I do at times. I said, I put double specs and try to go through. It doesn't go through. Then I surrendered to the lady. Please, can you help? You talk so much, but you can't put a thread. I said, that's my level. Please put the thread. I say, it is difficult for a thread to go through sometime, but he's saying it's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle. Look at the exaggeration. Than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. What is rich here? Rich with desires, rich with vasanas, rich with expectations, anticipations, and wants. If you are able to keep your demands in check, you are well and truly onto the path of Sthita Prajna. A Sthita Prajna is one who has got rid of his desires. Human minus desires equals God. He is a man of realization. All right, 62 and 63 we'll chant together once. Yes, before that. Yes, sir. Sir, it's like you're trying to put, you bring your grandchild to this lecture. 5-year-old kid. You may say my grandchildren are older than that. Just an example. Bring a 5-year-old kid and make him sit in his classroom. Everybody is quiet, very attentive, listening. And you drag him into the class, he sits. For 2 minutes, he sits. 5 minutes, he sits. After that, what happens? His attention is off me. His attention is what's happening there. What is this? You say, quit down. Then slowly he'll go to that. Then he'll start scratching his head. Then he'll start pulling his clothes. Then he'll start talking to you. What's happening? He is not able to concentrate. He is restless. He's fidgety. And you say, shut up and sit here. Don't do anything. Keep quiet. Yes, Tata. Out of fear, out of everybody disturbing, he sits. Do you know what's happening to his mind? Frustration is building. Because the child has so much energy, there's so much vibrance, it needs action, it needs to express itself. When you say sit quiet there and concentrate, it will go bad. Then a point will come 20-30 minutes from the time it is in the class, it starts crying, it starts making noise, starts creating tantrums and say, I can't, I will not. The moment you let loose, what happens? The child runs, helter-skelter, running all over. So a mind which is not ready will get frustrated, suppressed, repressed, and that can mentally derail you. And it's very scientific. I'm not talking in thin air, please. Unmindful of this, people plunge into it, not realizing the damage it could cause. So even in this verse, the first time the Lord is talking of meditation, he talks of control, senses. If you can't control, do not sit, he says. Only once you have restrained, then it's easier. What he's saying is, it's far easier to meditate once you're ready for it, that's all. If you try before you're ready for it, you will struggle, that's all he's saying. But if you continue to do it, it might cause damage. Watch out. All right, sir. 62 and 63, please. We'll chant once. Huh? Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sanghasteshu pajayate sanghat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate Krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smritir bhramshat buddhinashaha buddhinashat pranashyati. Now these two verses, the Lord is giving a psychological dissection of your human inner personality. He gives 8 steps. In these two verses, the 2 verses are chanted together because there's a continuity of thought. What he says, a man musing on objects, develop attachment for them. From attachment, a desire is born. From desire arises anger. From anger comes delusion. From delusion, loss of intellect, loss of memory. Loss of memory leads to loss of intellect. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Now, in the 60th verse, you must mark that. In the 60th verse, he said, senses draw the mind away. As we said today, the senses draw the mind away. And the 67th verse says, he says, mind draws the intellect away. Are you all with me? In the 60th verse, he says, senses draw the mind away. In the 67th verse, he says, mind draws the intellect away. Now, why is there an intentional gap between 60 and 67? These 6 verses, why is there a gap? The 6 odd verses, he is trying to highlight the importance of not having a head on your shoulders. What are the consequences you would mete out if you don't operate on your intellect? Intentionally, he gives a gap. Otherwise, continuity should be senses draw the mind away, mind draws the intellect away, chapter closed. No, intentionally he gives a gap. And here is the famous ladder of fall of a human being. The famous ladder of fall. In the Shastras, now there, I got it captured on the board for you all. There are two ladders the scriptures talk about. The ladder of fall is here, 62 and 63. The ladder of rise is in Bhajagovindam. The text by Adi Shankaracharya in the 9th mantra, the 9th verse of Bhajagovindam, he talks of ladder of rise. Just so that you know, there are only two ladders in spirituality. These are the two ladders. Now here, the ladder of fall, he says it all starts with man musing on an object. You just muse. What is musing? Huh? So the word musing, the derivative word of musing has arrived from the word muse, which is museum. You muse in a museum. In a museum, when you go, what do? Yes, stroll around, look around casually. Yes, see, isn't it? That's what the word museum, musing. So casually you go around into the world, in a modern sense, window shopping. Window shopping, I don't want to buy anything, I don't want anything, but just want to go around. So when you just go around into the world, into the shopping mall, and just look around, what are you doing? You're allowing the world to gush into you. What? Every sense organ is alert and active, and the senses are, there's a great traffic of the sense perceptions going through your senses. The first mistake is to start musing. That's what the ladder starts there. And when you start musing, what happens? The world enters into you. How does the world enter into you? As sense perceptions. When I see you, you don't enter my eye, but the perception of sight enter my eyes, the perception of sound enter my ears, etc., etc. Now, when the world enters into me through these sense perceptions, what happens? The next step, he says, those musings plant a thought. Just a thought, an innocuous thought comes into my head, comes into my mind. And what do I do with that? Thereafter, I am very diligent at it. I am very industrious at that thought. What I do, I keep entertaining that thought. Now, when I entertain the thought indiscriminately, mark that word. Mind is indiscriminate. There is no reason. But, I like that. That's nice. You just appreciate it. So, oh, that's nice. Not too bad. That's good. You appreciate it. The world enters into you. It becomes a thought. Then what happens? It becomes attachment. Attachment can be defined as an initial thought flow from you to an object. Now, did that object exist in your mind before musing? The object did not exist in your mind. And suddenly it becomes an attachment, and that attachment becomes a desire. And what's a desire? Desire is a strong or a thick stream of thoughts going from you to an object or being. Then you say, I desire it, I want it. Dhyayato vishayan pumsah sanghasteshu pajayate. Dhyayato becomes vishayan sangha. Sanghat, sanjayate, kama. Attachment becomes desire. And then what happens where you have desire? What did we say other day? Whenever you have a desire, there are two possibilities. What happens? Either you get it fulfilled or you remain unsuccessful. When you get a desire fulfilled, what happens? Kamat, krodho vijayate. Ravana in you is born. Krodha, anger comes. Why? You couldn't get what you desired. Simple thing, you're watching a India, Pakistan, T20 World Cup match. When is it, sir? Monday. There you go. You have got the timing, any timing, sir? Oh. So, there is so much anticipation, desire, wanting to see. and you have prepared yourself to watch the match right from the pre-show, not the first ball, the pre-show which starts an hour or two before the match. You want to be there from that. So much anxiety, desire, wanting to see. There's only one network connection in the house, one streaming going on, one TV in the house. You are full set to watch, and your child comes, and at the right moment, the match is about to start, your child comes and says, puts cartoon show. What is the state of your mind when the channel has switched to cartoon? Tom and Jerry. Jerry is running, Tom is chasing. What a sight to see. But that sight doesn't interest you anymore. You are infuriating inside. The desire to watch the match becomes anger. Why? Because anger towards whom? Towards your child. You said you can irritate it to the child. Come on, don't do it. I want to watch the match. Come on. The desire has transformed itself into anger. And you don't control the anger. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. That anger clouds your rationality, your thinking. Loss of memory. You don't know where you are. You don't know what you talk. You don't know whom you talk. You don't know how you conduct yourself. Smrutir bhramshat buddhinashaha. That loss of memory leads to loss of intellect. And once there is no intellect, the famous words, buddhinashat pranashyati. Now, I just want to ask you this simple question. In this ladder, where are you safe in this ladder? I'm not talking about that ladder. I'm only talking about, I'm not gone to the ladder yet. No. I'm talking about the ladder of fall. Where do you think you're safe in this ladder of fall? Then you are very important in the office. Don't go experience. The world is so beautiful, isn't it? Isn't this place beautiful? Wouldn't you want, before you, how many of you coming to Pragati for the first time? Okay. Now, having enjoyed the hospitality, having enjoyed the place, how many of you are leaving this premises with a desire to visit again? Damage is done. You may come back many times, but without a desire for it. There's no harm in visiting again, is it? There's no harm in enjoying it, but why do you have to create a desire, an unnecessary desire in your mind? And then comes the possibility of craving, not being able to fulfill, like this, innocently, ignorantly, the world is getting into you into the form of desire. How? Musing, simply musing, recklessly allowing your senses to run wild into the world. It's like, you have a security guard at your community or condominium, or your community has security guard. What's the purpose of a security guard? To keep and check who is coming, who is going out. No illegitimate person is allowed. So who is the security guard here? Perfect. Huh? Oh, the mind. The mind is this thought. This is the flow of the mind. So who's asked that question? Where are you? I can't see you. What's your name, Beta? Sia. What's the question? The mind is musing. It's the mind that muses. It is the intellect, the security guard. So the mind, it's like saying an illegitimate guest coming to an unintended person. A thief is entering your community. Would you allow him into the house, into the community? If an unchecked thought gets in, it can have such fatal consequences. So where would you get hold of that unintended person? Where do you stop him? At the nip it in the bud. You've got to nip it in the bud. If you allow it to let loose, that guy has a free will to do what he wants. So the question is, do I have the capacity? Do I have the ability to be mindful? So you even to control what to eat, what not to eat, how much to eat, how much not to eat. Lalitji, don't we need a basic intellect? Here you are helping us with what not to eat. But once we go back home, I have to rely on my intellect, what not to eat. I will not have Lalitji, but I'll have memories of Lalitji, but that's not going to help me, no? That's not going to help me. I have to have a certain amount of clarity to say, I should not do this. This is the ladder of fall. I can spend rest of the day. That's the depth, but I have to go through it. It should give you a direction of thought. And then the ladder of rise, the very famous mantra verse from Bhagavad Gita said, Sat sangatve nisangatvam nisangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nischalatatvam nischalatatve jivan mukti. You will get guaranteed liberation, but that upliftment of yours starts with satsang. And what we are doing these 5 days here is we are in the right company. Sat is good. Anything that brings about your transformation, your betterment, sang is the company. We're all having similar thoughts, like-minded people seeking wise counsel to uplift our own betterment. We are not doing anything that is detrimental to our physical or mental or intellectual or spiritual health. This is satsang. Now, can you create this environment in your lives beyond this retreat? That's the spirit. We should, yes. And if you do that, instantly arises satsangatve nisangatvam. You instantly become non-attachment. See, exactly the opposite. After thought becomes attachment, from satsang comes detachment, non-attachment. Exactly the opposite. And once you have that non-attachment, there is no delusion. See, after anger, what comes? Delusion. Here, freedom from delusion. How can it be? How can Adi Shankaracharya talk exactly what Vyasa spoke in different time zones, in different era? Yet the truth is universal. The truth is the same. Whether you quote Christ or Muhammad or Milton or Spencer or whoever, Shakespeare, these are eternal truths only meant to uplift our lives to become a better person. The choice you got to make, am I to tread that path or not? And once the delusion is gone, there's steadfastness. Remember, yesterday I took an example of steadfastness as these racecourse horses have got these blinkers on. You're very clear. You don't want to get distracted with so much happening out there. You want to be clear where do I need to go? That kind of crystal clear clarity. And with such steadfastness, nay, ere long you reach that state of liberation. So that whether you go to the ladder of fall or ladder of rise, the choice is with you, isn't it? Whether I make myself or mar myself, the choice is with me. Everything in life is a choice. One wrong choice, you had it. The famous words of Hamlet. Hariji. To be or not to be, that is the question. It's not weakness of Shakespeare, it's our weakness of you and me. Why are you putting Shakespeare? To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take up arms against the tree of trouble and to oppose and end them. This is a dilemma. Hamlet sitting on a precipice and deciding, am I to fight or am I to give up this life? To be or not to be. So the quintessential element that steers your life is your intellect. And what is it to have a life without an intellect? I tell you, I don't know. I don't know. You may give yourself what it is. If you don't have the capacity to make the right choices. So what I am today is based on the choices I've made thus far, isn't it? Good, bad, indifferent. I've made certain choices in my life. Today, the present is said to be the destiny. Destiny always refers to the present moment. The present destiny is a reflection of my past choices. The future is a reflection of my current choices. And what is it that chooses? It's the intellect. And intellect is a product of wisdom. Do you all remember I gave a homework to you all? Conveniently, nobody reminded me. He must have forgotten. Let's keep quiet about it. Never mind. Let's not talk. Honestly, he will pull us up. What is the question? What is the difference between knowledge and wisdom? The knowledge is jnanam, wisdom is vijnanam. You may be loaded with jnanam, but have only ounces of wisdom. We'll come to it sometime tomorrow. But you must know the difference. Okay. 64. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayanindriyaischaran atma vasyair vidheyatma prasadamadigatchati. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayanindriyaischaran atma vasyair vidheyatma prasadamadigatchati. All of us, when we go to temple, what is it we look forward for? Prasadam. Prasadamadigatchati. So what is the prasada here? Attains peace. Now, when do you attain peace? Remember, write down. All of you take down your pencils and notepads. For my sake, write down. Not for your sake. Vinayji, including you. Not mental note, physical note. Can you do that for me, please? Physical note? No. Okay. Then I'm going to ask you later in the day. 64th verse gives us the equation. 64th verse says, intellect produces peace. 65th verse says, peace produces intellect. Peace and intellect are interdependent. But if you operate with an intellect, prasadamadigatchati. So what's the prasada? The peace of mind. So what does the verse read? The translation. But the self-controlled man means he's describing, in fact, this verse is one of the most intricate, the most complex verses. Very, very subtle. In fact, if you want to know how good a commentary of a person of a Gita is, you should pick up this particular verse and read how well that master has commented. You know the depth of that commentator. We should not sit in judgment, but I'm just telling that's the depth here. I can't take you to the depths. I was telling, I think Asha, isn't it your name, Ma? What's your name? Yeah. Vidya, sorry. Vidya, I was telling yesterday, we are only doing I think puja, I think snorkeling. We're not doing scuba diving or deep diving. We're not doing. We're just doing snorkeling. Surface, I'm taking you through. That's all. In the classes I take, I spend 2-3 classes on one verse. We can't poo-poo this text. We can't hold it in lighter vein. These are deep philosophical truths, pregnant with meaning. You must have the patience and perseverance to draw it out. Raha raha, in the Dhyana Shloka, it says, Parascharya. Again, a verse. Is that the verse? Nana Kyanaka Kesaram Harikada Sambodhanad Bhulitam. Loke Sajjana Shatpadairaharaha Pepiyamanam Mudha Bhuyad Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvam Sina Shreyase Loke Sajjana Raha Raha, the wise men in the world, like the bees, Raha Raha, like the bee day after day, again and again goes into these flowers to draw the honey. The wise men, the men of wisdom, use these textbooks which contain the wisdom. Raha Raha, day after day, again and again, you go and draw the honey. The bee draw the honey today, the flower again reproduces tomorrow. The bee, what it does, go back and draws it again. That's the depth of this wisdom. So the message here is, but the self-control man. So a man of self-control, what is he doing? Vidyama, what is a self-control man doing? Can you read for me? He is moving amongst objects. He is not like a tortoise, huh? Remember, yesterday we said Kurmaha. He's not like a tortoise. He has locked himself somewhere. He is moving amongst the objects, and then I tell you, this is a masterpiece. It's like a classic century. This is. I'm not able to sit on the chair. I'm so excited, but I don't have time. I know my constraints. I respect that. But I'm saying it is such a beauty what he's saying. But just as a quick takeaway, I'll tell you. Self-control is not self-denial. Sense control is not sense denial. First understand that. In the name of spirituality, in the name of wisdom, you don't have to deprive yourself of any contact with the world. It is not physically shunning the world in the name of self-control. That's the reason he says a self-controlled man is moving amongst the sense objects. He is in the marketplace. But being amidst the sense objects, what does he do? His senses are under perfect control. I'm letting my eyes to see whatever it wants to see, but constant supervision on my eyes. I'm letting my ear listening whatever it has to hear, but I'm very mindful what I'm hearing. What am I practicing? No. Being very mindful of what goes into me is known as? I repeat the question. Being mindful of what goes into me through the senses is known as? Sorry? I didn't get you, sir. Awareness, not wrong. Self-control, the answer is on the board. Discrimination, answers on the board. Just now we went through that. Okay, let me read everything what's on the board. Is that what is that? Satsang. Satsang is when you are choosing the best thing for your own betterment. I am letting my senses go wherever, but anything that is not in my betterment, I will not do it. Intellect is aware. See, I have the capacity to be free, and I have the capacity to not do anything that's detrimental for me. I'm operating on the intellect. When you have the intellect, when you go back tomorrow to your home, would you have a double cheeseburger and extra topping of cheese? pizza, that will be utter disrespect to Lalitji and all his wisdom he has shared with us. Isn't it? If we have any respect for the truth that he has conveyed, you would not do that. But that doesn't mean you would, oh, if I see a pizza, I'll close my eyes, I'll stop my nose, I'll close my ears. No, no. You will be, people are sitting around you having pizza, you will sit with them. But I would say, no, thank you. I think I'm fine. You don't have to walk away from the table out of disrespect. You're free, but very much under control. I've got 3 more minutes, Shiva. Got 3 more minutes. So intellect produces peace. What are the quintessential statement? What are the 2 things you must remember? He is free from likes and dislikes. Remember, likes and dislikes is an aspect of your mind. All right. First thing, remember, when you operate on your likes and dislikes, the world is not designed to cater your likes and dislikes. The world out there doesn't fit into your likes and dislikes. You're expected to align yourself to what the world presents itself, rather than complaining why the world is like that. You can't complain, I can't complain, but accept that the world has a pattern of its own and it is not designed to cater to me alone. You come here, you think this retreat or this facility is going to cater to your specific likes and dislikes. There may be certain things you like, there are certain things you dislike. You operate on likes and dislikes, what happens? No prasada for you. You will be not peaceful. You want to be peaceful, first don't operate on your likes and dislikes. Be free. Operate with intellect. Second, what you like to do may not be what you ought to do in life. These are 2 powerful theorems that will be responsible to instill peace in your life. You violate them, there is no peace in your life. What are the 2 things? Firstly, Anjuma, what's the first thing we said? Fair enough. But what is that we said? The world is not designed to cater to any individual's like and dislike. Like I may not like spice. Somebody else here likes spice. How can the same buffet cater to 2 different palates? Can it? Cannot. I like winter. I hate summer. Complain, frothing and fuming. Summer. No, gone. Second thing is, what you like to do may not be what you ought to do. Who is a diabetic patient? Sir, in one of the workshops, I asked this question. 3/4 of them raised their hands. Everybody said, I'm diabetic. I don't want to know who all diabetic here. When I ask a question, who is a diabetic? When does one become a diabetic? When there is a craving for sugar and the intellect uncontrolled. You have no control over your craving, you fall a prey to it. You may like to do it, but you ought not to do it. So 64th verse, you operate with intellect, it produces peace. The next verse, it's peace that produces intellect. We'll come back and we'll conclude the rest of the text in tomorrow's last session. We'll conclude with a prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.